Hello, good evening. You join us here on the 24th of April 2026, where we are in the final stages of ping pong with the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill. Together here tonight, we've got Amy. Say hi.
Hi.
And Kat.
Hello, hello.
So, without further ado, we shall crack on.
With this lovely graphic Amy made for us.
Oh, I love it. I just love it. I mean, she's put who is that? Is that Lord Nash and Baroness Barron on the left-hand side, and then we've got Bridget Phillipson and Keir Starmer on the other side. Now, for those who are not familiar, prorogation, which is a terribly difficult word to pronounce, prorogation, is the gap between sessions of Parliament. A session of Parliament begins with the King's speech, the state opening of Parliament, and then it continues until the Prime Minister closes Parliament down again. And it's just to close a session down. It's usually a year long. We've had almost 2 years this time. The last King's speech was shortly after the general election in 2024. So this is a particularly long session of Parliament that we've had. So prorogation, there's been a lot of hoo-ha about the prorogation, and many jokes made this week because, of course, the Prime Minister wants to stop Parliament, shut down Parliament on Tuesday, because guess what? All the awkward questions get asked of him on a Wednesday for Parliament, for Prime Minister's question time, and he doesn't want to be answering questions. Well, we surmise, as do half the population of the country, that he does not want to answer awkward questions about Peter Mandelson and other things. So yippity-doo, he can shut down Parliament before he needs to answer those questions.
Especially as the Foreign Affairs Committee are speaking to some choice ex-civil servants on Tuesday. So he certainly wants to avoid Wednesday, but he's done nothing wrong. No. Why prorogue on Tuesday? You should really finish your bills, definitely.
So the assumption is absolutely. So when the state opening of Parliament is set for a date, what date is it set for, Kat? Do we remember?
Sorry, was that prorogued?
The state opening of Parliament.
State opening, the 13th of May.
Okay.
So that's the day of the King's speech, and they're going to set out their new set of bills.
So the assumption is, of course, that the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill business gets finished. They tick it all off, tie it up with a nice bow, and send it off to the King for royal assent, so that it receives royal assent in the prorogation period, and we end up with it being announced. So that's the plan of the government, but who knows? Because it's still pretty messy.
Everyone likes a plan, but Baldrick will come to the rescue.
Yeah. Oh, I knew Baldrick was bound to be mentioned as soon as a plan was mentioned. Yes, I have a cunning plan. Yes. There we go. So we've got some amendments still being ping-ponged about. This is the VPN services. Do you want to talk about this, Amy? You know more about this than me.
So we have 3 main amendments still being a sticking point, stopping the bill from being finalised. The first one is Lord Nash's bill, or his amendment, I mean. And that is to have this VPN ban and social media. And he's kind of conceded a little bit with the government. He said, I agree with your amendment. However, I think we should amend your amendment of my amendment with an amendment of an amendment. Okay? Just to make that as clear as mud.
Following.
Make sure that you are keeping up here.
Yes, not as clear as that to the people who are actually sitting in the House of Commons and everything else as well, because it's just got ridiculous.
So Lord Nash's amendment is that he would like a social media ban and VPN ban And the government have come back saying, well, actually, we kind of want to be able to tweak it and put a bedtime curfew in, and maybe, you know, give you 2 hours of internet use and all of these other bits. So they're hashing that out. And then we've got the other two amendments. The first one from Baran is 102. So this is the school admissions amendment that she wants to push through. And it's interesting because somebody's response to that was, I'd like to see you tell a popular school that they can't admit any more students. So there's a little bit of drama going on with that one. So it's really fun to watch some of those comments flying. And then we have the third amendment, which is 106 from Baroness Baran. And this is the school phone ban. Now, a lot of the media has picked up on this. Suddenly they're aware of the bill. So we've been attaching comments to it going, hang on, this is everything else that's in that same bill. It's not just that. It's this massive bill that's got all of this complicated stuff in it. Please, please, please be aware, because the media haven't highlighted that. They are literally just sticking to that phone ban. And some parents are saying, well, my child's already banned from having their phone in school hours. I don't think people realise how this is going to be implemented, how it's going to affect children with SEN or children with diabetes, or how it's going to affect those children who were affected by a school bus not turning up this week in the Whitney area, leaving 15 students stranded because of a mechanical issue. Some parents were able to get hold of their child and collect them, but if they didn't have their phones on them, how were they going to safely get to school?
And I have a comment about this, Amy, because when I was a child, we had phone boxes. So you were able to go and use a public phone. There would always be one within walking distance of a main road somewhere. You know, if you broke, I remember my school bus breaking down and me having my emergency 2p. Yes, I am that old. My emergency 2p to make a phone call back to my parents and say the bus has broken down and I can't get home. So, you know, we used to have a different mechanism. If we remove phones completely from children, they are not going to be able to phone their parents in an emergency, because there are no public phones anymore. There are no public phone boxes anymore. No pay phones. Plus, there are a tremendous number of special needs children for whom school is not currently working, and their only safety mechanism is their ability to go and hide themselves in the toilet and call their mum. And that's not going to happen either. And like Amy said about the diabetes, many children, juvenile diabetes is notoriously difficult to manage. And many children now have one of the monitors on their arm, and they speak to a mobile phone and need immediate action when they get a warning from the monitor in an injection of insulin or an ingestion of glucose. So, you know, I don't think they've thought this through at all. You know, it's got far-reaching effects, and I think society has moved on too far for them to introduce a ban such as this at this late stage. Really, we need management risk rather than risk avoidance. Management of risk rather than risk avoidance.
Yeah, it's good though, because it means that they're still arguing.
Yeah, we like that, because it means they're having trouble passing the bill. There we go. Right, what's next? If you're speaking, we can't hear you, Kat. Right. Okay.
No, I wasn't speaking. It's quite loud in the background here at the minute.
Okay.
But this one appeared on the action group earlier this week. So.
Oh, this is the Welsh one, isn't it? The Welsh one with the school attendance order. And we think this one's come up in the, so there are school attendance orders all the time on and off. You know, there's a steady trickle of them across England and Wales. but we think that they've brought this one up in this accidentally on purpose at this point in time, just to have another stab at home education and remind those pesky home educators to behave themselves. That's my feeling anyway. I don't know whether you think any different, you two.
I don't like school attendance orders. I think that the is it an education supervision thing that they can put in place instead? Yeah, so they don't tend to use that very often, but that would be a better option overall for them to help and support parents that are struggling, and to leave the rest of us alone.
Well, quite frankly, they should be helping and supporting parents. Do you know, I was having this conversation. I was at a conference last week in Milan, in Italy, online, before you think I've been away again on an aeroplane. But I was at a conference in Milan, and we were talking about this. And my colleague from Switzerland, from Lausanne in Switzerland, Debbie Lutolf, she was on talking about how the attitude towards home education in her canton in Vaud is a very supportive one. So yes, they have visits once a year, but they don't come in expecting to look and find problems. They come in to have a chat and support. It's a completely different attitude over there, completely different. And in this country, it's just parent bashing. Every service that has anything to do with children's and families seems to involve, to a larger or smaller degree, parent bashing. Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, when I was a child, my educational welfare officer came to my home to do a home education inspection and was very supportive. I took him down the other end of my garden, introduced him to all of my chickens and told him all about them. And it was a friendly relationship. So when this bill came along, I had to explain to my mother the change in culture, because it is so stark from when she was home educating to what we are receiving now. And the way in which they handle and speak to us in writing, if you look back to the Joy Baker stuff, it's almost identical. So in 70 years, they haven't changed their mindset in any way.
Yeah. What's happened is we've gone backwards. We went through a kind of golden period, which luckily I was home educating during some of the golden period, because I started in 1999. Yes, again, I am that old. And we had the golden period of home education where we were treated with respect to a certain degree, and certainly over the last, I would say in particular over the last 7 years, it has got dramatically worse and it's fallen off a cliff with this bill. So much nonsense, and a lot of local authorities trying to bring in things that are in the bill that haven't yet been passed. Get a grip. Anyway, there we go. Okay,
although
what's
they've
next?
got form with that, don't they? Because when there was guidance consultations before, the LAs started to do things that were vaguely suggested in the consultation. Nothing that we knew of from the DFE, anything like that. But yes,
absolutely.
Always read your guidance. Make sure they're sticking to the current guidance. Let's just
And if they're not, is it better than the current guidance? Because actually the current guidance isn't statutory, so they don't have to follow that. So you can peel some of that crap back, because some of the stuff that's in the guidance is actually way beyond the law. There you go. Right. We like Bishop Burton College. Bishop Burton College is in East Yorkshire, in the East Riding of Yorkshire, and they've always been, for the last probably about 15 years, they've been quite sympathetic towards home educators, and they are continuing to do that, where they're opening especially they've got a special part of their open day for home educated students, they're just nice. what every college should be like, really, welcome and opening to all students. We've seen a trend in many of the things in colleges now not taking account of home education at all. This is about sixth form college. This is about providing sixth form for students who were home educated, and they're just being really nice and proactive and welcoming.
And 125 is quite a large amount.
Well, and God forbid if we were all nice to each other. Just saying. Anyway, carrying on. Yeah, the thing about friendship groups, I find that really interesting. So, little story from when my daughter went to school. She'd been home educated till she was 11, and then she chose to go to a selective grammar school. And in the first half term, we had a parents' evening, and the head of year said, "Oh, we are very concerned about your daughter because she doesn't appear to be in a friendship group." And I thought, yeah, but all the rest of them have come up together from primary school. Of course, she's not in a blinking friendship group. And quick as a flash, Emerald just turned to this teacher and said, "I didn't come to school to make friends. I came to school to learn." And I was like, yeah, score one for the home educator. But now she's now that she's almost 21 now, and she did make a friendship group shortly after that with all the weirdos, obviously, because who wants to be in with the it crowd, and she has maintained that friendship group to this day. So brilliant, great. They're acknowledging that the first few weeks can be tough, but it does settle down. Right, sorry, that was a bit of a diversion. And
is it the FOI next, Kat?
Yes, it is. It's from, I think this was from Ruth.
Yeah, so Ruth, our Welsh correspondent, she who works really, really hard in the background with I always think that she's a bit like she always looks quite serene, she comes in from time to time and tells us stuff and all the rest of it, and I know her little legs are paddling under the water and when she's cracking on with stuff. This was an FOI to her, to the Welsh government, asking how they monitor the conduct of local authority staff. Now, we've talked about local authorities. We talk about this quite often. Local authorities overreaching, really acting what we used to call ultra vires. It was the phrase that us old-fashioned home educators used to use all the time. So where they were stepping outside of the law, they were overdoing, overreaching. And so she wanted to know what training they were providing, how they were monitoring the conduct of the local authorities and their policies, how they were monitoring the complaints, and etc., etc. Now look at the response. The response says, the Welsh government does not hold the information requested. Brilliant. Okay, so nobody's checking up on the local authorities to make sure that they're following the law, and nobody is ensuring that there isn't something going horribly wrong.
Do you think it's quite bad? Because I was thinking about this earlier today. We've been doing that job. We've been monitoring that and bringing it to the attention of either the local authority or other representatives. And yet they're attacking us. Don't you find that quite...
Oh yeah, it's disingenuous, definitely. Yeah, they're not
doing all this free work.
They're improving home education through this bill, but they're not improving local authorities at the same time, are they? No. For improving, read doublespeak for clamping down on. They don't monitor, audit, provide written feedback on policies, blah 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 blah. But there's also, most importantly, there is not this shows very clearly that there is not a mechanism by which Welsh home educators can truly complain about the conduct of their local authority. So if their local authority decides to introduce compulsory meetings every 3 months for home educators, where do they go? Where do they complain? Nowhere. There is nowhere for them to complain. You know, and we've been saying that this kind of stuff happens in England too, where we don't actually have an ombudsman to deal with our particular minority issue, etc.
It might be helpful as well, Alison, because a lot of home educators have been led up the garden path, so to speak, by their local authority. If you give a couple more examples of what overstepping means, like what clear overstepping would mean.
Well, you don't just get led by the nose by the local authority. Sometimes the local authority will make stuff up and tell the schools that this procedure is the one they have to follow. I was speaking to a Welsh home educator just this morning who informed me that she put in her deregistration. They have deregistration on demand, same as in England. She put in her deregistration letter to the school, and the school informed her point blank that she could not deregister until she'd had a home visit from education welfare officer from the local authority. Now, obviously, that's a pile of excrement. That is not actually the truth at all. But she thought it was, because, and how would she know to complain? Because she doesn't know that that's wrong. So why aren't they monitoring these policies? And other forms of overstepping are things like just rocking up at your door, you know? I mean, how dare they just turn up and insist on coming through the door and looking at your children? That's just absolutely dreadful. Or
even just fill in this form.
Well,
the form isn't mandatory either.
Fill in this. You must fill in this form. You must give us examples of work, photographs of your child. You know, I'm always tempted to say to people, if you want to do the today's paper job, you know. You know, and if they want examples of work, you know, I mean, I don't know.
I think the most extreme example that we had was a council demanding mortgage information and the brand of a car, because they needed to see how wealthy the family were and if they had the disposable income to be able to afford home education.
Oh, I'd like to see that one.
It's good, isn't it?
Oh,
and it just goes to show how far they are willing to actually overstep. And I don't think people realise what the harm is when we give an inch.
And sometimes it's individual officers, but more and more often now it's actually entire authorities overstepping. We've got one authority in particular at the moment who has been directed by the councillors to reduce the number of home educated children in their area by 30%. Now, you know, so you are. How are you going to stop the home education of that many children when it's a legal right to home educate? You know, what are you going to do? There must be some unlawful action involved.
From 980 down to 500, they wanted. That was their target number of home educators for the area. And they said it was based on a pilot scheme that Portsmouth were running to reduce the number of home educators. And we know what Portsmouth's way of dealing with things is.
Yeah, they're so rude. They're absolutely awful. Yeah. Right, moving swiftly on.
Okie doke. And then, of course, if you remember, we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and what was the House of, or what are we calling it? The House of Lords Commission? I forget, what are we calling it? This is the problem when Juliet's not here.
I don't know what, but anyway, so this is Mary Greenfield, who is a long-term home educator herself. She has been a home educator for 15, 20 years, something like that. She's been in the game not quite as long as I have, but almost. So she deeply understands home education. And this is a study, a survey, which is led by Mary and Amber Fensham-Smith, who I know very well indeed, and Shelley Oldham, who I also know very well indeed. It's absolutely terrific because we've got people that are sympathetic or have knowledge of home education, like Dave Harvey, who used to be the Inclusion Support Service Manager for Hampshire, and people with actual
Sean Cheesley and his family have been representing Kent against the roundtable discussions and everything. So that's a very, very, very long.
You mean at, not against, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about against all of the Kent policies that were illegal that were brought in, but I merged it into that.
Don't worry.
There's been a lot,
but there's quite a few names in the list that we recognise, especially around Juliet here.
So our very own Juliet is right in there, it's basically they're surveying home educating and flexi schooling parents, and gathering some real quality information. And the great thing about doing this through a university with academics overseeing it, rather than doing it through a home education support organisation, is it's got a bit more weight at the end of it. Okay. Please do take part in this study. We need several thousand people to take part in this study if possible. If we have, what were you saying, 126,000. So there's 126,000 registered children in England. There's a few thousand in Wales as well. There's some in Scotland as well. This is not actually limited to those in England by the looks of it. I can't see a limitation, but they want.
I believe so.
They talk about. They're talking about experience here, what home education means to those families, how it is executed, and what their dreams and aspirations are, etc., etc. So please take part in this study. Who is it limited to? Let's have a look. It's you've got to be currently home educating, basically. So I couldn't fill it in, for example, but Amy could and Kat could. Anybody who is currently home educating, that's it. That's all. Just if you are currently home educating. So please, or flexi schooling. And believe you me, this will be going out on my flexi schooling group straight after this. Please crack on with that. It would be amazing if we could get 20,000 responses, which is entirely possible. Then we will have we'll have the biggest study ever of home education in this country. Let's do that. Let's make it the aim that we have the biggest study ever of home education. Is there a closing date, Kat?
Yep. It says we have until the 4th of May to submit our responses there.
Flipping heck, that's not long, is it?
Nope.
Right. But so not only
time's of the essence.
Don't just fill it in. Share it on all your social media. Push it every single day for the next 10 days. Let's get some, because it closes in 10 days. So please push it really hard. We'll be pushing it hard on the action group, even if it ends up pushing it several times a day, because we really do need to get some responses into this.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I think that's everything we've got.
Yeah, we need to be making sure that obviously we have done our consultation responses.
Oh, yes.
Consultation responses and petitions.
Yeah.
They'll all be underneath the thing.
Yeah. pause the children's wellbeing and schools bill being the priority. The closing date for that isn't very far away, as I understand. And it is a petition that has been written and supported by a teenager because they wish for their voice to be heard, because no child has been consulted on this bill, even though their name is actually on the title of this bill.
Yeah.
We've still with petitions, still with consultations. We've still got the sand reform consultation. There's a lot more guides to filling that out starting to come out this week, it seems. I've seen quite a few kicking about, as usual. If you need any specific resources, you don't know where to find them, come on the action group and ask us, and we will signpost you in the right direction. We still have the Growing Up in an Online World consultation. You've still got a little bit of time till those do finish. I don't think there's anything this week, is there?
And remember, when you're doing that digital Growing Up in an Online World one, when you do the form as the child, the parent must do those first few questions, and you can refuse to give out the full postcode and the gender, etc., etc. So don't feel afraid to do that. But bear in mind, if you do accidentally answer the question wrong about the age, it will kick you out and you will have to clear your cookies in order to go back in.
So purely designed, considering a lot of the other surveys are like, you can save it and come back later, that's fine. But
it's not
when they actually want to hear from children, they're like, no, one go, that's it.
Yeah. Don't forget, you can subscribe to Substack by typing !Substack in the chat.
Well, that'll bring up the link anyway.
I spoke to the DFE about that kicking people out thing. The consultation for platform is a government-wide platform, I believe, that they use. And so it's a problem with the platform, not a problem with, do you know what I mean? Not an individual consultation issue. So I think it might be worth us, figuring out who we need to speak to with that. But I have passed the message up the tree yesterday.
I did complain. And had nothing back.
Yeah.
So I've submitted evidence and written a full complaint because I don't think it's fair or right.
I agree.
Right. We have a question here. Given that the assisted dying bill has run out of time, what's the chances of the same happening with this bill?
Near zero, I'm afraid. It's in its last gasps of ping pong. The assisted dying bill didn't even get to proper ping pong at all. It hit the road.
Also wasn't a government bill either.
No, it wasn't.
That one?
It wasn't.
Sad to say. I think if somehow they're not going to finish it on Monday, they're going to carry it over to the next parliamentary session after the King's speech. I believe that's the procedure anyway. And we will see if Starmer is going to try and force the issue, I guess, or whether we're going to get a PMQs on Wednesday. Okay, it's like soap operas is all this nonsense in Parliament, isn't it? Is this our adulting soap operas?
My bet is he's going to dodge it.
So much.
Yeah,
I think so. I think they're certainly going to try.
I think he's going to dodge it. Yeah.
I don't know if the Tories would use us as that much of trying to use this bill as leverage to force them to stay the rest of the week, but we will see.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us will be streaming it on Monday, will we, Emmy? I don't know.
No, I've got a lot on next week, unfortunately.
Okay, so but we will try and keep you updated in the action group.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's going on.
If I get a minute, I will definitely link it up and get it streaming.
Yeah. But,
okay.
I mean, we're left with the issues that aren't strictly HOMED, so I don't know how much interest there is in that, other than just seeing where the bill gets to. But it's both. So once again, it's both the House of Lords followed by the House of Commons on Monday. And
so they have to run up the corridor with it. I've got this image, of somebody with a big stack of paper running from the House of Lords. So
if anyone goes to watch on Monday, try and film them running through the corridor.
$1 million man.
Yeah. Again, I am that old. Right. Okay. Lovely to see you all. Have a lovely weekend. Look forward to the Substack coming out, and we will see you next week. Thank you. Cheers.
Good night.